time for Elder Scrolls. We've all been waiting a very long time for Elder Scrolls 6. After the announcement in 2018 at Bethesda's E3 presentation, we really haven't heard much official news about what'll probably be the biggest RPG of the decade. So because the developers aren't talking, all we have are leaks and speculation.
Needs to come out
so
ASAP.
Here are 10 possible changes for Elder Scrolls 6. Don't count all this as 100% gospel, 100% truth. We're just having fun here. Who knows? This game could still be many, many years away, but we wanted to talk about it today. So let's get started off with number 10. Traditionally, the Elder Scrolls RPGs jump to new and unexplored locations for every major sequel. You know, we visited Cyrodiil, Morrowind, and Skyrim in the newer style, like open world RPG era of Bethesda here, but one leak points us to a location the series has been before, Hammerfell. The setting of the really ambitious Elder Scrolls 2, Daggerfall, was Hammerfell and High Rock. And while most of the purported leaks only mention Hammerfell, there's really no reason to developers at Bethesda would be stuck to just one location. We could get two. Who knows? We could get three. But maybe we're only getting one. And Hammerfell, as of right now, looks to be the most likely. The Hammerfell leak comes from a Pinterest image board from a Bethesda employee, reportedly. The image board features no official artwork or images from any version of Elder Scrolls 6. It's all just ideas, inspiration, and random bits of art that light our brains on fire. The Pinterest board in question has since been deleted, but all the desert images and North African culture show off a totally different version of the Elder Scrolls, at least if you didn't play Elder Scrolls Online. This isn't another standard sword and sorcery setting like Oblivion. Skyrim and especially Morrowind like really branched out to show us different settings for our fantasy adventure, so why couldn't we swap snowy mountains for sandy deserts? Who knows? The region of Hammerfell features lush jungles, seashores, rocky canyons, and a bunch of other stuff. We know this because Hammerfell and the islands surrounding it were featured pretty heavily in Elder Scrolls Online.
I hope it's not desert.
Means
I
don't
really
working
like desert
with the
biomes.
Redguard culture, which is one group of humans we haven't really heard much about in this long-running series. We're all about seeing something new in Tamriel, and we have no idea if these leaks even really point to anything real. The inspiration could be for one region among many in a sequel, or it could be nothing. While we are saying all this about leaks and speculation, you can also infer the Hammerfall location from the original announcement trailer back in 2018. Just watch it, and you can see a crater, white birds, mountains in the distance, and more that suggests that we're moving out of the familiar. Fans are convinced, so yeah, it's something to look at. Next at number 9, from that same leak we mentioned, fans quickly latched onto a school of underwater fish. Underwater areas and ocean areas are things that we haven't really explored too much in detail yet in these games, and commandeering your own boat would be the kind of big feature the series needs to add after Bethesda introduced shipbuilding to Starfield. Being able to create and customize your own personal spacecraft in Starfield
Imagine
was
having your
one of
own
the cooler
crew
parts of the game.
well,
and it was a feature that, like, for all the game's faults, it did make it feel
if you wanted
really
to,
unique
like don't make it a main
like Elder Scrolls or
absolute.
Fallout. We'd love to build our own boat and fight
it'd be nice
pirates
to have
on the
your
seven
own
seas, or
like
however
you can
many
do that.
seas are in the world of Elder Scrolls. The region is perfect for ship-based gameplay. Between High Rock and Hammerfell, there's like a big sea with plenty of islands.
Like don't, you know what I mean? Don't force it on us, but like make it an option.
Piracy, so shooting it out with the high seas bandits.
Like that'd be cool. Yeah, if you wanted to choose the pirate life, you can.
That's also total unbridled speculation. Keep in mind is that, hey, maybe we finally get some underwater environments in these games. Many of them have underwater environments, sure, but like we wouldn't call them fleshed out. A full underwater world to explore would add a totally different and new layer of complexity to an already dense
go find
map.
One
kind of
Piece,
like in the way,
right? Like there's treasure out there. That'd be cool.
That whole entire underground world.
Pirates and stuff. That's
do any of that? We're not holding our breath, but again, we're having fun. We can always dream. Next at number 8, while there's a whole lot of leaks and speculation swirling around from, you know, all these unsubstantiated sources, one of the prevailing fan theories is that the Thalmor will feature heavily in Elder Scrolls 6. And there are some pretty compelling reasons behind this. But let's talk more about some of the biggest bad guys in Tamriel. The Thalmor are evil high elves that started the Great War and conquered much of the Empire in the time of Skyrim. This powerful faction appears all over Skyrim, with lore breaking down their involvement in the Great War, their tyranny, and just kind of being evil guys that literally everyone seems to hate. They're high elves, they think they're better than everyone else, and they wear black robes. They're kind of natural bad guy vibes. And so far, in the modern Elder Scrolls games, they've basically been background players. In Skyrim, you complete this fun mission to infiltrate the Thalmor embassy, but like otherwise, they aren't the big villains you'd think they'd be. And Hammerfell, if it does appear in Elder Scrolls 6, has its own connection. The people of Hammerfell signed apparently a separate peace treaty with the Thalmor, becoming the only sovereign nation in Tamriel the Empire and the Thalmor don't control. Just imagine a Casablanca situation, like a neutral nation caught in another great war between two invading powers. That's the kind of drama we would expect from an Elder Scrolls game. Now at number 7, of course, the next Elder Scrolls will most likely probably only appear on Microsoft platforms.
What?
At least at first. So that means the Xbox family of consoles and PC at launch.
We're good,
this is both official information and a leak because the decision was originally revealed through court documents. According to documents from that FTC versus Microsoft case, the Elder Scrolls 6 is expected to be released in around 2026, and it will be
next year.
Exclusive. That means we won't see Elder Scrolls 6 on Nintendo Switch or PS5. Microsoft has changed their minds before that.
I'd rather they take their time
we've talked
and
about
not fuck it up
at Game Ranks.
than like
it's pretty weird. It's a little unpredictable.
Rushing it.
If Microsoft
even though it's been so long,
6 was releasing on PS5
I don't understand how Elder Scrolls 6 took so
surprise.
long to do.
They've been dropping lots of their former exclusives to other platforms, especially single-player games. So unless Elder Scrolls 6 has like live service elements and always online features, literally anything is possible. And I seriously doubt Bethesda is going to load down Elder Scrolls 6 with any of the Fallout 76 online baggage. Actually, we do kind of know that there won't be any multiplayer features in Elder Scrolls 6 thanks to Todd Howard, you know, the big guy at Bethesda. If he says there's no multiplayer, it's probably because it's true. He also let slip another interesting bit of information we'll talk about next. At number 6, that same interview with Todd Howard that we mentioned.
Elder Scrolls series is one of those things where I like to enjoy on my
detail
own.
about the release of Elder Scrolls.
I can sit there and immerse myself in this world and live in the world
Xbox
forever.
Game Pass day 1 with no extra charge.
So it's chill.
If you're subscribed to Game Pass, you'll get access, which is already a little bit not true. A few months back, Xbox announced a new
Some
tier
games
of
are
the
just
Xbox
better
Game
enjoyed
Pass
on
that
your
doesn't have
like a
access to new games on day
solo
1.
journey.
So if you're subscribed to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is the most expensive tier, then you'll be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 without any additional charges.
What?
Probably.
Oh.
As long as Microsoft doesn't change Game Pass again within the next few years. Who knows? God knows. Next at number 5, we do have to keep talking about some of these comments from Todd Howard because he did drop some interesting bombshells. Randomized elements will be in Elder Scrolls 6, says Todd Howard, still riding high before the release of Starfield brought all those procedurally generated dreams back down to Earth. After the initial acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft, Todd Howard expressed how procedural generation will make a big impact in Elder Scrolls 6. What that actually means is a mystery. We can't know what the developers at Bethesda are planning, but after playing through Starfield, we definitely have a better understanding of the limits of procedural generation. In Starfield, the cities and major quests are all linear and fully designed by developers, handmade, but a lot of the planets are randomized, which sounds a lot more interesting than it is. The planets might look a little different, have some different hills where there might be valleys on other planets, or the colors are different, but the actual procedural generation seemed pretty limited. It didn't generate a lot of different, unique stuff. And we didn't even get randomly generated
Maybe this is the one game they're going to use AI.
Elder Scrolls 6 could benefit from that
AI generation.
At least it could help the developers generate all those caves and forests and catacombs you explore.
Like it creates its own story. That'd be kind
to
of
save time. I have no idea, but I really hope if Bethesda is serious about procedural generation in Elder Scrolls 6, they really work at it and they make sure that they find the fun in it. Now over at number 4, with a new Elder Scrolls, there will maybe be new hardware to purchase. That same FTC versus Microsoft case we mentioned before also leaked a new upgrade for the Xbox Series X that enhances the console, kind of like the PS5 Pro. That console is scheduled to release in 2025, but apparently that isn't the only console in the pipeline. Persistent leaks are pointing at a pair of new consoles for the Xbox brand. You've probably heard this before.
A pair?
But just to be clear, like this larger, more powerful traditional console unit, and then also the rumor of a handheld tablet like the Nintendo Switch. Those were once rumored to be in the far-off horizons of 2028, but with Xbox console sales seemingly dropping across the board, Microsoft may push to release a new Xbox system before 2028. Even if the console did come out in 2028, we might still get Elder Scrolls as a launch title for that. Who knows? Court documents might expect a 2026.
I'm not sure I know any, like, not many people at least that have Xbox console anymore. They've all moved. I feel like they've all migrated over to
Scrolls, but anyone familiar with Bethesda launch cycles has to know better.
Or
we aren't getting this game until probably 2027 at the earliest. That's just a spitballing, but yeah. Now over at number 3, this next Elder Scrolls might not stray too far from the formula, and that means we're getting Elder Scrolls 6 on Creation Engine 2. The new version of Bethesda's workhorse engine was developed for Starfield. The developers at Bethesda are going to apparently use it again, whether that's a good idea or not. The Creation Engine still has bits of code originating from Morrowind and the Gamebryo engine. There are flaws that still persist in Starfield from the same exact engine, so don't expect a lot of technical new features that will fix issues like performance getting worse the longer you play. Stuff like that might never change unless they do a whole complete overhaul that we don't know about yet. What will change are the graphics. Starfield is a pretty big step up from Skyrim in terms of visuals, and the Creation Engine 2 might make Elder Scrolls 6 a much prettier game. We hope so. What to expect? At least looking at Creation Engine 2 and looking at Starfield, at the very least, better post-processing effects, global illumination, and some other visual upgrades. Now down at number 2, one fact we've had confirmed over and over by developers is that the skill system in Elder Scrolls 6 will be simplified compared to what we got in Starfield. There are 82 skills in Starfield, which I think we can all agree is a lot, maybe too many. In comparison, Skyrim has a grand total of 18 skills to level up. We're probably not going to see a return of the challenge system in Starfield either. Like, instead of simply earning XP by performing your skill, like swinging a sword, you'd have to complete small challenges in Starfield to even progress. Like, kill X amount of guys with this type of gun, and then you level up. To level up your skills, you'd end up having to complete ridiculous challenges for the simplest skills. That's in addition to earning XP and skill points to spend. It's one of the more disliked changes to a leveling system in a while. And really, none of that is required for Elder Scrolls 6. In Skyrim, your hero uses a skill and earns XP in that skill. Earn enough and you'll level up to unlock perks. Both Fallout 4 and Starfield
don't need them to
tweak
change the game that much.
Elder Scrolls 6 will probably have its
give
own
me a
unique
better
wrinkles
graphic
to the formula.
Skyrim
I think the feedback over Starfield definitely helps. They've talked a lot about how they like to pare things down and let game systems disappear in the background, so you're not staring at numbers. So I hope they can find a good balance between it still feeling complex to feel like an RPG,
like make
but
it
be a little more
similar,
immersive and intuitive.
You know.
Now at number 1, the
better
biggest
UI,
and most dubious leak comes from, like,
interface.
to be honest, a totally unsubstantiated post on 4chan. Take it all with a grain of salt, but like, of course it would come from here. Normally these types of fake leaks aren't worth discussing, but this one is so weirdly specific, it'd be fun to talk about. The supposed leak details the factions we'll be able to join, the dragons that'll be appearing, and even that a new type of world wall will appear to unlock new special abilities. Even Starfield had shouts, kind of, so we wouldn't be surprised if the new Elder Scrolls had some similar systems. The real big guess here is all this other stuff. Void Gods, Nocturnal, and the Emperor himself. The Void is where the demonic Daedra come from, and Sithis is the god that rules the Void. Sithis isn't mentioned in the leak, but Nocturnal is. This is a Daedric prince worshipped by the Thieves Guild in Skyrim. That's an oddly specific character to include, along with the Emperor. As we've discussed before, the region of Hammerfell is a sovereign nation. It isn't ruled by the Empire, or those evil elves. This suggests that the Empire might be getting into the Daedra business, which isn't a terrible guess. We haven't fought an evil empire in a long time in Elder Scrolls, and their desire to defeat the more powerful Thalmor might push them to make a deal with the literal Elder Scrolls devils. This last leak might be a total fake, but we're intrigued enough to think about it. It's kind of fun. Daedra and their portals featured heavily in Oblivion, so it's about time they made a big splashy
That's not
return.
bad.
Just imagine a war in Hammerfell between the Empire and the Thalmor, working a little bit like a big Skyrim Civil War quest. We guess that another quest line just like that basically has to be in Elder Scrolls 6. But again, who knows? A lot of this stuff is speculation, rumors, and some sketchy leaks, but it's fun to think about. Those are 10 things, 10 potential changes to Elder Scrolls 6.
Yo, Sam, welcome in.
One way or another. These things can change. The game only started genuinely
these are speculations for the Elder Scrolls 6. Like, what could possibly be in it when it comes out in around 2026? So we're just seeing what's up with it right now, and it's looking not bad. I don't need them to be reinventing the wheel for this. I just need them to make it so that it's pretty much Skyrim, but in a different game. I mean, not in a different game, in a different location, with a new story, better user interface, and that's about it. Like that's all I need. This copy paste Skyrim, but with better UI and new story and new land. That's all I need. Maybe some new character races.